besties, welcome back to my channel. My name is Javell, and if you've never seen my channel before, I make book related content, but I also make lifestyle content, so definitely go ahead and subscribe. But today I have my last reading wrap up for the year, which is so sad because literally 2022 just started. What's going on? It went by so fast. But I have my last reading wrap up for the year. What's even sadder is the fact that I only read like 6 books this month. It's a holiday, so I'm gonna give myself a pass. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, the first book I read is by Miss Colleen Hoover, and it is Confessed by Colleen Hoover. Haven't really heard much about this book before, and so I really wanted to read it. But this book is basically about Owen and Auburn, and they have a lot going on. So Auburn, she recently moved to Dallas, and she has a goal in mind, and she's working towards it, and like she's really not trying to have anything get into her way of meeting this certain goal, which us as the readers, we don't really know what the goal is yet. We just know she's like, you know, trying to figure out her life in Dallas. And then she meets Owen, and Owen is like an artist. He's like the stereotypical artist, like slightly mysterious, you know, very cool looking, and they're instantly like attracted to each other. But Owen has a lot of like baggage and drama and just bad stuff from his past, and he's keeping a lot hidden from Auburn, and he like sets her up on their first date. He like never actually shows up, but they continue like their little situationship, and I don't know, like their story just has a lot. But I feel like my problem with this book is like, I remember being on page 105 and thinking like, I barely know anything about the characters. Like, yeah, we know that they like each other and we know like what's currently happening, but like we don't know anything about their past. Like, we as the readers, who usually has more backstory about the characters than the characters have on each other, like we just didn't know anything. And so I don't know, for me this book was just really plain. Like, it was just very bland, so it was not my favorite Colleen Hoover book. I just didn't really enjoy it. It was just very dragged out and like boring, and so for that reason I would rate this book like a 2 stars, which is really weird for me because I usually love Colleen Hoover and she's usually really good. And then the next book I read is Dal A for Aunties by Jessie Q Satanto. I think that's how you say the last name, but it's basically an Asian American kind of book. Well, it has Asian American characters, and this book follows Medi, who's the main character, when her mom sets her up on a blind date, and she goes on this blind date and everything just goes completely wrong. Like, this date tries to like kidnap her and she accidentally kills him, and so she doesn't really know what to do with the body, and so she calls her mom and her aunties and to get their help to help her hide the body. And that's basically the plot of the story, is just like them trying to figure out how to hide this body and get away with the situation. And this book was so freaking funny, like, because it had like Asian American characters and like an immigrant like background. It was like very relatable for me. It doesn't matter like if you're Asian, like, you know, Hispanic, Black, Jamaican, immigrant, whatever. I feel like we all just have similar backgrounds. Like, all immigrant parents act the same way despite like the race or whatever, and so I really like the similarities, I guess. And like, I don't know, it was just like really fun and cute. What I really like about this book is that it had like Asian American like representation, which I feel like you don't really see a lot in books. Also, like, it had like the second chance romance trope, which I do love. Sometimes I do love that trope, and it also was just like really freaking funny. So for that reason, I'm gonna rate this book like a 4.5 or 5 stars. It's like a really fun read, also had like romantic aspects, and I don't know, I just loved it so much. So that's A for Auntie. The next book I read is The Goal by Elle Kennedy, which is a part of the Off-Campus series, which I've been reading forever. If you've been watching my reading wrap-ups for months, you're probably like, are you not done with the series yet? And no, I'm not. So this is kind of like the 4th book in the series. I know there's kind of like a novella, there's the wrap-up novella with like all the characters, I think, which is The Legacy, but this is technically like the last book in the series, and it is The Goal by Elle Kennedy, and I am obsessed with this series. It's so good. So this book is basically about Sabrina, which we've heard about Sabrina in like all the 3 books, and she has a really bad reputation. Like, we don't like her, but it's about Sabrina and John Tucker. Sabrina, she is very like focused on her goals. Like, she has 2 jobs, she has like straight A's, she's applying to Harvard, she's like trying to go to law school, she has all, you know, the good stuff going for her. And one night she goes out, she meets John Tucker, and they have like a steamy hookup, and she gets pregnant. Which for me, I was kind of, I don't know, I don't really like you know, reading about pregnancy and stuff like that. Like, that's totally not my vibe. You get to see how her and Tucker kind of navigate, like, you know, finishing college and, you know, becoming parents, dealing with pregnancy and all of that. And the whole time Sabrina is just like, she likes John, but like she has so much trauma that she's not really trying to be in a relationship with him, and she's trying to let him go live her life despite him being the father of her baby, and all John Tucker really wants is to be with her. So we get to see that in this book. So obviously this book has the pregnancy trope, which is honestly not my favorite. I would prefer not to have that in like my new adult romance, but it was still very enjoyable. I feel like it's also very realistic, and I feel like this book was very different from the other three because like this has more like adult components. I feel like I would rate this like I'd say like 3 stars, 3.5. 3 stars. Let's say 3 stars. The next book I read is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Janet McCurdy, which I know the title is a little crazy, but I read that book and I know Janet McCurdy. She's actually like she writes a lot, so I don't know if she actually like wrote that book or if she had like people writing it with her while she told her story. But the writing in this book, like the way it's told is like so captivating. But it's basically about Janet McCurdy. If you don't know who that is, she is Sam from iCarly, or Sam from Sam and Cat from Nick. And you know, iCarly was my childhood. It's basically about like her life growing up and her relationship with her mom and how her mom controlled basically every single aspect of her life, which is so crazy. If you know, never read that book, definitely recommend, especially if like you're interested in learning about her life. It's so good. Like the writing style or like the way it's like told is so captivating and so good, and I don't know, it was just very interesting. So definitely like that book. I'm not gonna give it a rating because it's literally her life, but if I would rate it, I would say like a 5-star. It was really good. The next book I read is The Twisted Games by Anna Hong, and oh my gosh, this book is a part of the Twisted series, which I'm obsessed with. It's the second book in the Twisted series. All these books can be read as standalones, but I'm reading them in order for ones. But this book is basically about Bridget, who's a princess, and her bodyguard Reese. I've been saying Rise for the longest time because I'm Jamaican and I mispronounce everything. We're not even going to talk about it. Basically, Bridget is second in line for the throne until her brother abdicates for love, and now she's first in line. And here comes the problems because 1, Bridget doesn't want to be princess. Like, she doesn't want to be queen at all. And 2, Bridget really wants real love. Like, she doesn't want arranged marriage, but now that she's first in line for the throne to be queen, she has to find a husband. And so she hosts a ball, you know, to find, you know, a husband. And here comes the real problems because 1, she has feelings for her bodyguard Reese, and 2, Reese has feelings for her, and it's very hard to like watch her talk to other guys and be with other guys, and so it like drives him crazy. And that's basically the plot of the story. This book is so freaking good. It's so spicy. My only problem is like it's a little bit too much physical stuff. Like, I feel like for me it kind of felt a little bit lusty instead of like real love until the end, and I love like a true love. Like, I don't want lusty love, and so that was like my only problem with this book, but still very spicy, really good. This was a 5-star read for me. I love the Twisted series. Thought this book was going to be really crazy and had some crazy plot twists, kind of like the first book, because the first book was a lot. I would say this book is a little tame compared to the first book, but it was still a 5-star read for me. It was really good and I really enjoyed it. Then I had to read a Christmas book because obviously it's December. We're in, you know, the festive spirit, and so I read Christmas Land by Anne Marie Mayer. I think that's how you say her name. And this book is basically about Beatrice, or B, and she is not a Christmas person. Like, she's adopted, so she doesn't really have, you know, a really good relationship with Christmas because, you know, Christmas is a time to be with like your family and, you know, be festive, and I feel like she just never really had that. So she is the ultimate hater of Christmas. And so her best friend wins a trip to Christmas Land and she gets roped into going, and Beatrice is not really happy about it, but she goes anyway to be a good friend. And while she gets there, as soon as she gets there, she meets this guy, and he also doesn't like Christmas, but he's from the big city. He wants to give her like the perfect Christmas after hearing her story, and that's basically the plot of the book. It's so good. It was just like, it was a really good book to get into like the Christmas spirit, and I feel like the book just felt like a Hallmark movie but just in a book. It was also like a really cute book. I really liked it. Also had romantic aspects, which I love. I love a good rom-com. So that's pretty much it for my reading wrap up. I hope you guys liked it. If you liked, definitely go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more. I love you guys so much. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.
Ooh, I'm gonna pull a study to the side. She keep coming at me every day and night. When I left in my life started feeling right. Yeah, yeah.